Rob says, hey, Tony, remember the time that there was a kid throwing really, really hard, and he was striking everybody out, and you kept yelling from the dugout, hey, guy, you better not throw me one of those fastballs. This went on for the better part of an entire inning. Your next at bat, he threw you one of those fastballs, and you knocked it out of the park, and as you were casually trotting down to first base, the only thing you could repeat over and over again was, and I quote, what the hell were you thinking throwing me a fastball? Well, Rob, I want to thank you for your vivid memory, because you are absolutely right. That was a clear case of Coach Tony being a jerk. Again, but you know what? I think it is a good example. I backed up what I was saying. I mean, clearly, I told him not to throw me a fastball, and he did, and I knocked it out of the park. And that should have been enough, but again, being the jerk that I was, it was not enough. And so I needlessly continued to taunt this guy, and I made a complete dope out of myself. So the good news is, as a coach in that hallowed organization, which is now called Team New York Baseball, it's kind of a do as I say, not do as I do. So if one of my players were to do that, needless to say, I'd have to yank him immediately. TJ's looking at me shaking his head because he's playing for Team New York this year. You do not get to do any of that this year. Sorry. You can hit all the home runs you like, but you cannot berate a pitcher as you're running around the bases. I got another one in from Rob, who writes in from Ardsley. Hey, Tony, when you and I played together, and I was a freshman, we played a game against Rockland Community College. I know where this is going. Okay. I ended an inning flying out to the wall, and as I rounded first base, the first baseman looked at me and said, hey, kid, hit the weight room. Now, what that means, for those of you who don't play baseball, is you're not strong enough to hit a home run. So as a freshman, I came back to you and said, Tony, the guy just said this. What does it mean? And I had my puppy dog eyes on. You told me, Rob, I lead off next inning. I will hit a home run, and when I round first base, I will make sure I get in the guy's face and let him have it. You did indeed lead off the next inning. You did hit a home run, and as you rounded first base, you started mouthing off to the first baseman. Now, while this is an impressive story, what your listeners probably don't know, because it's not documented anywhere, is that as you were mouthing off and turning back to continue to mouth off, you tripped on your own sock and fell in some mud right in front of the first baseman. So while you had my back, and I do certainly appreciate it, not only were you a jerk, but you made a complete, and I'll use your word, mongo out of yourself, and first baseman certainly had the last laugh. Unfortunately, you are right, and there is indeed a last laugh factor there. And again, one more illustration of me being a jerk. This is turning into something very, very different than what I envisioned this morning when I got out of bed. And Adam has a big smile on his face.
All right, here we go.
We have another email here.
So Nooch has reached out to us, and he's wrote a very nice email here, right?
All right, here we go.
And he starts it off, all caps, love your show.
Okay, thanks, Nooch.
With two exclamation points. And he writes, hey, Coach Tony, love your show. I want to become part of your Mongo Nation. Do you have any T-shirts or lame coffee mugs that you're looking to sell? Maybe you could use the money to cover your phone issues. This is Newt from Franklin Square. Been trying to call in your top flight producer, me. Just can't seem to hit the correct button. Holy crap. Anyway, I think you should talk more about the classic rag, which is what I believe is an art and that has been lost. Using words, insulting someone without calling them a name, kind of like you're mentioning that you are a good-looking, luckying, silky-voiced radio guy, where in reality you are a Tuscan Sam-looking, no glove in college, and can go on, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to get my message in. Hoping you can get your new producer by next week. Nooch from Franklin Square, and hoping to be part of Mongo Nation in all caps.
Mongo Nation.
And please tell TJ I said what up.
All right, well, that's Uncle Nooch.
All right.
And Mongo Nation. Nooch, I am going to make T-shirts, and you're going to get the first one. The Mongo Nation thrives. You got to go out there and recruit for us. Now, what Nooch is talking about here is, again, what I alluded to earlier, when it's like with Ike Taylor and Santonio Holmes. There is a lost art of ragging, and college officials are being told not to allow this to happen. And this was really as jovial and jocular a situation as you could expect, bordering on insulting somebody. If there was let's say a first baseman or a catcher, these are the guys who tend to be a little bit bigger, maybe with a little bit more weight around their middle. You would say things like, what do you use for a belt? A garden hose? Is that your belt, or is that the equator? Funny things that would keep the game moving along, and were certainly meant in jest, but just enough to get under a guy's skin. And and Nooch, I got to tell you, thanks for sending that in. You took another technical snafu day and made me laugh, and I really do appreciate it. There is, by the way, this one's a little embarrassing. You know what? I'm not going to tell this one. I'll give you an overview on this one, because we got Anonymous who wrote in and said, "Hey, Coach Tony, I know you better than most. Do you remember the game against Dowling College where we had a female umpire?" The short answer is yes, I do. You were on first base. There was a ground ball. Second baseman fielded the ball, had the ball in his hand, tagged you with his glove. The female umpire called you out. Do you remember what you said to her? And that's the end of the email. The short answer is, I do indeed remember what I said to her. And there is no, it's not, I can say it on the air. I'm just actually a little embarrassed about this one. I had made a reference to the fact that she may have been umpiring during a 5-day span of that particular month that may have caught. I'm doing this very well. She may have been umpiring during a 5-day time span of that particular calendar month that may have clouded her judgment. How's that? I think everybody gets what I'm trying to say. I said it a lot shorter and a lot more animated, and yes, I certainly do, Anonymous, remember that game, and I remember what I said, and I got to tell you, again, if my kid, and TJ's laughing, if my kid had said that, I would go bonkers. And that gives you an idea of how little guidance that I had and what a genuine jerk I really, really was. The last story I'm going to go into, because my brother John had texted this to me after putting his cute little post up there, was, okay, Tony, you remember WestCon? Which is Western Connecticut State University. Yes, I do. You were on deck with runners on first and second. Our cleanup hitter was up, and they decided with 2 outs to walk him and load the bases to pitch to you. On your way to the plate, you had a look on your face as if you had something to prove. Well, it was exciting to watch them load the bases and to have you hit a grand slam immediately after. What was not exciting to watch was you, on the way to first base, yelling at the opposing coach, asking him how stupid he was to walk the guy in front of you. Then you yelled at the pitcher, asking him why he was stupid enough to listen to the coach. Then you informed the first baseman how stupid it was for them to walk the guy and pitch to you. Then you told the second baseman. Then you told the shortstop. Then you told the third baseman. Then you told the guy selling hot dogs in the stands. And then you told anybody who cared to listen or didn't care to listen how stupid it was and how anyone could even remotely think of walking someone to pitch to you. Well, again, hey, I'm either going to be fired or I'm going to have a whole new Mongo Nation follow me next week. I've told you guys many, many times before that, again, the reason I do what I do is because I know what an absolute jerk I was. And by the way, there are more stories, so we're going to stay close to the email and see if maybe 1 or 2 more come in, because you know what? There were plenty. I was the jerk of jerks when I played. And you know what stinks? I was a very, very good ball player. I mean, just listen, these stories are all true. I mean, Anyone can, well, you can't call in today, but you can call in next week and challenge these stories. They're all true. I called several home runs. I was a talented kid. But you know what? Looking back, every coach that I played for, pretty much, and every coach who played against me, every player who played against me, hated me. The guys on my team loved me. They liked the way, well, Nooch is going to call back in 2 seconds and say that's not true, but they really did. I was the kind of player you liked having on your team as a player. You didn't like to coach me, and you really didn't like to play against me. And so, like I said, part of my lifelong mission in getting involved in youth sports is to create an environment where this stuff just does not happen. And again, being one of the biggest culprits of this, personally, this is like, the crackhead who gets clean and then tries to keep everybody off of drugs. This is the Scared Straight program they started at Rahway Prison. They want to try to keep the kids out of this. I promise you, if you are ever at a game where I am coaching or one of my kids is playing, I can promise you, you will not, absolutely will not see TJ or Sophia or Dominique or any of my players get involved in any kind of significant trash talking. There will be significant repercussions. There will be consequences for those actions. So I want to talk just for a second about all of us as coaches for a second. I mean, if there's another funny email comes in, I'll read it because, like I said, when the phones don't work, I can use a laugh. But let's face it, guys, as coaches, and I say guys, I mean men and women, as coaches, we certainly do have not just a responsibility or an authority, but an obligation to shape the lives of these young kids. My wife and I were just talking yesterday, and she said, and I'm not going to say what she called me. She says, you take coaching a little too seriously. Isn't it the high school guys' jobs to shape lives? And she goes, they're the ones that get paid. Aren't they the ones that should be shaping lives? And I got to tell you, Mima, who I love, that was a Mongo statement, all right? How's that? I'm not going to say you're a Mongo, but that was a Mongo statement. So you might get the second Mongo Nation T-shirt. Because if you take the time to volunteer yourself to coach kids, I think, it is an obligation, at least in my mind. Nothing is greater, and I've talked to high school coaches, all around this country. Nothing is better than, let's say, the freshman football coach gets his hands on TJ next year and says, you know what, I don't have to teach this kid as much as I thought I would have to. He's got the right mindset. He's been taught fundamentals. We've got a mold of what I'll call, for lack of a better term, a good kid who's ready to go to the next step in his career. So instead of retraining or retreading that tire, I now have an opportunity to take a kid and bring him to that next level. And the reason for it is this. If Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez listen to coaches and improve every day, it means that the career of any athlete, however short along that career is an ongoing process. It is a journey, not a destination, and you always will improve. Adam, do we have another email?
Yeah, I want to try and get this one in. We have about 2 minutes, but
right.
It's from JTWin17.
That's John.
That's John, okay. What a coincidence that the one show that people are dying to call to rip you, that the phone lines are down. You seem to remember all the times you rose to the occasion. You seem to get Alzheimer's when you fail to do so. You seem to forget the times you got drilled and thrown at, brothers included, and then he writes in all caps, by the way, Turk Wendell owns your ass.
Turk Wendell, okay. Now, I'm cut John off because Turk Wendell is a guy who pitched in the major leagues, and John and I argued about this last night. The guy pitched for the New York Mets. He went to Quinnipiac College, and the guy threw gas. In college, he was a man among boys, and he just threw gas. Now, I'm not going to say the names because these are good friends of mine, but the fact of the matter is Turk Wendell came in to pitch one inning against us. I was batting third that inning. So you keep things in perspective. He blew away our first guy who was our number 3 hitter. He blew away the next guy who was our number 4 hitter. And then I came up. And in my mind, I set a really low goal for myself. I said, I'm putting the ball in play against this guy. We knew he was going to be a top draft pick, and I grounded out to short. So he didn't own my ass. I have a lifetime batting average of 0 against Turk Wendell, but he did not blow me away. And by the way, John, you absolutely never blew me away. And if you want to challenge it, call in. Oh, wait a minute. You can't. You're right. My show today. But, John, hey, listen, you know what? Yeah, there are plenty of times when my trash talking came back to bite me in the butt. And if you want to call a ground out against a major league pitcher, one of those times, then